Hello and welcome to the Committed Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Overton, and I'm here with a very special guest, 2024 graduate and commit to LSU University, third baseman. And from what I hear, switching a little bit over to the other hot corner at first base. Please help me welcome Miss Alix Franklin. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. And so this has been, from what I heard, a little bit of research I've done, it's been a very exciting summer for you. Your team just had an outstanding summer, won the biggest tournament of the year. And I know you probably had a couple days after that to start getting prepared for college. And so, again, great summer. I'm glad you took a little time out to talk to me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No worries, no worries. So, Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about your softball journey? Obviously, you're on your way to LSU, and it couldn't have started over the last couple of years. So, take us all the way back to the beginning and let us know how it started.
Okay, so I started playing softball probably around 6 or 7. I was the worst player on my travel ball team, but I was extremely athletic and extremely fast. So majority of the time I sat the bench. I was not very good, but one day my dad was like, "We're gonna go to the field, and you're gonna hit the ball, and you're gonna catch the ball until you get it right." So we
Wow.
did that. We were at the park for like 6 hours, but I guess my love for the game just developed at that time, just being the worst player on the team and my dad just helping me to put in so much work. And now I love what I do, and now I'm not the suckiest player
Yeah.
in the world. So
You know
I've
what? Yeah, but that's really, I mean, it's good for people to hear because, like I said, there's always kind of a debate. I mean, do you want to be the best player on a mediocre team, or is it better to be a worse, not the worst player, but a player that struggles for playing time on a really elite team where you can get there? And so that's important to hear. So many of our guests, we think they've already always been the best, always been the best on their team, and it came easy to them. We have a lot of girls that can kind of relate to that struggle. Now, knowing that you're heading to a big time softball university, I know you weren't the worst on this team. So, what age group are we talking about when we kind of had to make that jump from the bottom of the team riding the bench to a starter?
Okay, so literally from age 8 to 9, that's when the transition happened. I was
Okay.
terrible at 8. When I turned 9, I was phenomenal. I guess just putting in that work, I just kind of took off. I have a unique story. I've only played travel ball in Louisiana. So I started playing in the elite world to get committed, like
Okay.
literally the fall of my sophomore year. So I
Wow.
had no clue what this elite world was. So I was just always one of the best players in Louisiana, and I played my freshman year at Santa Monica High School, and I was like all state freshman, all of these accolades. And my coach was like, "Do you want to play college ball?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't know how I'm gonna get there." So she was like, "You got to go play for a team in Texas." So I made that transition to Texas Hot Shots. That
Okay.
didn't really work out, but I had like a bunch of schools looking at me like in my sophomore year. My sophomore year summer, which is a huge summer for my class, going into junior year, getting those offers. I literally broke my thumb, quit my team. I didn't play at all. So on September 1st, I had zero offers. I switched over to Texas Bombers, played one tournament, 2 games, and I had like 5 or 6 offers. And then
Yeah.
I took my visit to LSU and committed.
Yeah, hey, right place, right time. It's
So,
interesting. I talk to some girls where it's like, okay, I've been writing letters for years, emails,
oh,
camps, and it finally happens. And then there's others where it's like, yeah, I got invited to this camp, had a great day, signed the next day. So everybody's journey is different, and that's really cool to hear. So what team was it? The Hot
before
Shots,
Hot Shots.
Houston area, right?
Yep.
Houston.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what kind of drive was that from Louisiana to Houston?
4.5.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Not
Wow.
bad.
And then the Bombers, a little bit longer than that, I'm assuming?
They're out of Seguin, but we did a lot of stuff at Texas A&M, so like College Station.
Okay,
College Station's probably I want to say like 8 hours, but
okay.
to Seguin, that's where like my coach lives. That's
Mhm.
like 10 hours.
Wow.
So there were some hikes
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
No, it's interesting that you say that too, because even like for me in the travel world, I have a baseball background and in baseball you can still get recruited from high school a little bit, but softball it's all about your club team, it's all about travel. And so I remember some of the journey with my kids where, we went from our local city team and we played rec all stars and we thought we were special. And then we go to the town over and like, okay, we're pretty good. And then you get to big girl softball where, in California, it's kind of Orange County. That's kind of where, Corona Angels, Mercado, and it's such night and day, going an hour away. So, and we've had that conversation with many athletes where it's like, okay, well, you're good in your city and you're good in your
Right.
local area, but if you want to get to the point where you're going to get recruited, you either have to go to Texas, or I won't say Texas or California. It used to be California, Texas, Florida, but now there's good softball in Bama and up in
Yeah.
Illinois and stuff too. But sometimes you still have to travel to get there. So that's interesting to hear that at least it clicked somewhere. I don't know if it was you or your parents, but they convinced you where you're gonna have to make that track.
Yes. It was tough, but it was worth it.
Awesome, awesome. So now tell me, so obviously again you did I won't say settle on LSU because like you were sharing with me off air, that is your hometown, so you kind of followed them for a while. When did you know that that was going to be the school?
So literally the second that she called me to go on a visit, I was like, if I get the money that I want, I'm going to school there. But I took the visit 2 days after she called, and as soon as I just stepped foot at Tiger Park, I was like, I grew up watching these people play. I'm going to
Yeah,
play here. I'm not leaving my family. I have a little brother. He's a phenomenal athlete, and I was like, I have to watch him grow up. I have to watch him play. So I knew the moment I stepped on campus that I was going to go there.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And so you talk about the financial aspect. That is a huge deal. I know that there's a current, I won't say negotiations, kind of been settled where softball scholarships are going to be increased starting next year, but it's always a money question.
Phew.
How much of an impact did that play in your decision?
So I don't know if you know about this, but there's this thing called TOPS in Louisiana. So if I
Okay.
get a certain score on my ACT, majority of my school is paid for. So with my softball scholarship, I'm paying like nothing, next to nothing
Okay.
almost.
Good.
I mean,
Good.
some fees here and there. So, but like Texas was my dream school. Out of state fees are insane, you
Yeah.
know? That was only a 60% offer. I was like, I'm going to have to come out of pocket 25 grand versus a couple $100,
Yeah.
being here. So
Yeah.
that was like a huge factor for me. Cause I mean, why would I ask my parents to pay for my schooling after they've paid for me to play travel ball my entire life?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going where the money is. And luckily, the money is 30 minutes from home. So,
That's awesome. No, that's really funny. As a softball coach and a parent, we always joke that we need that scholarship just to break even because we spend so much money on the training and the tournament fees and all that, only to get an offer. And then when you read the fine print, it's like, okay, you have an offer, but we're only playing this percentage. And I think that's why grades are so important. I mean,
yep,
almost every coach I talk to, every player I talk to, as a matter of fact, even when coaches reach out to me, one of the first questions is, "What kind of teammate she is, and how are the grades?" And so it's so important because that money is directly tied into the grades for softball. So,
yep.
if you don't mind, and I didn't ask you beforehand, so I hope you don't have a 2.1. What is your GPA?
I finished high school with a 4.0.
Oh, okay. So that would have been really embarrassing if it had been like, oh,
I
2.1.
know. Huh?
That is impressive. And so, like you said, with the 4.0, I know it opens up a ton of doors. So one of my jobs as well, in addition, softball's kind of a hobby. I get to coach, but I'm an athletic director in high school. And so for all my athletes, my football players, basketball, baseball, softball, one of the first things I do when I sit down with them is say, okay, where do you want to go? Let's look at the grades. What do you qualify for? And when we look at some students, it's a 2.5. It's like, okay, well, you're limited to here, here, here. You start talking about upwards of high threes and 4.0, all the opportunities open up. And so that's really, really amazing. So cool. So Alex, tell me this, what does your workout routine look like week to week? Obviously, we're kind of in a downtime where we just finished travel and we haven't started college yet. But what's a typical week for you during the season?
Okay. You mean like travel ball season or
Yeah,
like,
as far as like out your workouts, obviously, you probably have some
during high school or just like off season?
off season. So like
Okay. Yeah.
you
Let's
work
talk
out
off
with your
season.
team, but what I'm looking for is what do you kind of do on your own to prepare?
Right. So right now, we just finished travel ball like almost 2 weeks ago. So
Mhm,
right now, I'm giving my body time to heal. I'm
mhm,
also dealing with this injury, so I'm trying to, nurse myself back to health. But before I committed to LSU, I was preparing myself for how every college has 5 a.m. workouts. So every other day before school, I had a trainer. This was before I committed. I woke up at 4:30 to lift before school. I was
wow,
struggling with some identity issues and just
mhm,
deciding on if I was still going to play college ball because I had a really bad experience my sophomore year summer of travel ball. And
Mm,
I was like, in order to gain confidence, I'm going to have to beat people while they're sleeping. I don't know what in my mind thought I was going to have to I had to prove to myself that I wanted to do it. So I was like, I'm going to wake up at 4:30 and beat people while they're sleeping. So I
nice.
did that and my confidence went through the roof. Clearly, I mean,
Mm.
I played 2 games and got committed. So it definitely paid off, but I found out that LSU does not have 5 a.m. workouts. So I stopped the 5 a.m. workouts and I just lifted on my own during the off season. I have a gym right by my house. I do that, but I'm one of the only people on the Bombers. I think there was like 2 or 3 others that are from out of state.
Okay.
So putting in work on my own is really important, clearly.
Yeah.
So my high school ball coaches are just extremely devoted to me. My high school ball coaches and I are like so close, like almost like
Nice.
friends. So
Nice.
anytime I needed defensive work or hitting, they would do lessons with me. So that was a huge help. But I like to do stuff in my house, like defensively, like tennis ball off the wall. Like I've just a
Yeah.
bunch of hand drills, dry swings in the mirror. I love hitting off the machine, like
Okay.
focusing on my eyes because I don't get to see live pitching as often as everybody else. So going to hit off the machine and not
Mhm.
really focusing on my mechanics, but like focusing on my eyes, seeing the ball, that's huge for me. I feel like if I don't see pitching like off of a pitching machine twice a week, I don't expect myself to hit good in a tournament.
Yeah.
So that's something that's huge for me. It's just pitching machine work. But
Awesome. Awesome. Now, you mentioned a little bit before about some of the struggles you had identity wise. What were some of the unexpected challenges or surprises that you had during the recruiting process?
um I know the caliber of talent that I am. So seeing everybody else I knew get all the offers that they dreamed of on September 1st, and for me to not, I got a few calls, but not to have any like of my dream calls or any of my dream offers because I had like 10 Power 5 schools looking at me in the fall to have nobody call me the next fall. It
Mm,
was just really, really hard because I played for this travel ball coach that I just some things didn't work out. Some how they tell you what you want to hear, and not everything follows up the way that it's supposed to. So that was really, really hard to see everybody else commit so soon. I mean, everybody committed in September. I committed like 3 weeks after everybody, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But
yeah.
so I would say that for sure to not have any offers on September 1st was
Wow.
super, super hard. So I feel like my story is like a miracle story. Like my travel ball coach has told me, like, I'm gonna tell your story to people, how you started from the bottom and literally you've made it. So
Well, I'm going to tell that same story because, like I say, you wouldn't be surprised. It's a lot of girls going through that right now, especially with the transfer portal. And right now, girls
yeah.
that didn't have to wait before are having to wait a lot longer. And so you'd be shocked with how many people can identify to that. Like I said, we've talked about you going through the process of going from warming the bench to now going to a Power Five school. What kind of advice would you give somebody that's just starting the game or that's kind of struggling a little bit?
For somebody that's struggling with, let's say, showing up or loving the game, you're really gonna have to ask yourself, how badly do you want it? Are you
Mm,
just going to talk about it? Or are you really going to do what it takes to be great? Because a lot of people, everybody wants to be great. That's why there's only 2% that go on to play at the Division 1
yeah,
level. But how are you going to separate yourself? And I guess you're just really going to have to dig deep within yourself and ask yourself if you're really going to want to do that. And if you commit to doing that, you're going to have to show up on the days that you don't want to. Your commitment outweighs your feelings. So if you
yeah,
try and do anything in life operating out of your feelings, you're not going to make it. And softball is just a phenomenal way to practice, exercising your commitment. So you're just going to have to basically grow up and you just live out your commitment.
yeah. No, it's interesting you say that because I think every sport is about how much you want it, but particular in softball, this is one of the sports that if you're willing to wake up a little bit earlier, if you're willing to hit the weight room, if you're willing to get the extra reps outside of practice, you can do that. Now, for basketball, I don't care how tough you are. There's only so many 5'3", 5 foot girls that can play. You need that height. For
Right.
football, you need that size. For softball, if you're willing to put in the hours, in the work. Now, obviously, some people are more blessed with speed, a stronger arm, but when you put in the work, it's usually the payoff is good, and so that's exciting for girls that are kind of on the fringe, trying to decide, do I want this? Well, that's the ultimate answer. If you want it, you're willing to work for it. The sky's the limit. So that's
Right.
really Really
And
good
this
to hear.
and this game is hard. Like, we chose to play the hardest sport like on the planet. Like, hitting a round ball with a round bat is not easy. So you're putting in all this work to fail 5, 6, 7 times out of 10, which is really good. So
Yeah,
in order to, stay consistent in your love for the game, you have to be able to handle the success just as well as handling the failure. Like, if I go let's say I go 10 for 10. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm this god of a hitter, because I know the 0 for 10's coming.
it's
And
coming.
if I go 0 for 10, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm a terrible hitter. Like, my identity is not based off my performance, it's based off the work I put in.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time talking about controlling the controllables, you know.
Yep.
You can hit the crap out of the ball in 4 at bats and go 0 for 1. I mean 0 for 4, 1 for 4, and then the next day get jammed 3 times and go 3 for 3. So
Yep.
it's a stupid game sometimes, and you embrace the process, control what you can control, and then bounce back from the hard times, and that's
Yep.
kind of long term. That's probably the secret to success for many young ladies. So that's
Yes.
good to hear. So
Secret to success for life. Whew.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's 100% correct. So tell me a little bit about Alex off the softball field. We've heard a lot about your journey. What are some of the things you like to do when softball's not going on?
So I'm a strong believer in Jesus Christ. I love reading the Word of God. I love being with other believers. I'm not going to say I love being at church. I mean, I absolutely love being at church, but I don't
Yeah.
like go to church to get fed
Hmm.
from God. I like that time of intimacy with Him daily. I
Yeah.
love going to church to be with the rest of the body, but
Really.
the gospel is extremely important to me. The
Mm.
foundation of my life is that Jesus died on the cross for me, and I'm set free from everything that I used to struggle with. So being a believer in Jesus Christ is everything to me. I also have a baking business, a little bit of my hidden talent right there.
Oh, that's
I
good.
bake cookies, cakes. I'm super artistic, so decorating. I love making food look like art. So I do that.
Nice.
Yep.
Send me the link so we can
Oh,
promo it. Send me the link. So that's actually awesome. So we one of the things, and I kind of shared with you a little while ago off the air that I'm an athletic director, and so we're very excited. We're bringing the Fellowship of Christian Athletes
oh,
to
awesome.
our school. So I have a couple coaches that are passionate about it, and it's a really big movement, and it's something special when you see young people 16, 17, 18 years old that are excited about that. So I commend you on that, and it's something that's needed, and it's something it's a little more special when it's driven by young people versus parents and grandparents telling you, oh, you need to do this and this. So that's really awesome.
Absolutely. I actually just got my first NIL deal with this brand called I Am Second. And it's
Okay.
basically that Jesus Christ is first and putting others around us first, and we are second. So I was in Dallas for 3 days. We went through this gospel training, evangelist training, and discipleship training. So I've learned so many different tools and skills to bring on campus to bring the gospel to LSU. So I actually start ministry at LSU the day after I start school. I'm going to be putting together some
Wow.
Bible studies through my church and just helping with services and everything. So, yeah.
Wow. So you talk about no free time. So
Oh,
we've got
no
the
free
we've got the
time.
ministry, we've got the baking business, and we've got being a Power Five Division One softball player.
Right,
So
right.
wow. So if I were you, I'd be sleeping until the first day just to be
I
ready.
love my sleep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're running a little short on time, Alex, but if you could give me one moment from this summer, obviously we've talked with some of your teammates from the Bombers. You guys had a amazing run. If you had one moment from this summer that was memorable, what would it be?
I don't want to say winning a national championship because that's what they probably all said. But
Also,
they did.
not all of them, I think. Yeah.
So we were playing this team, Iowa Premier, and we
Oh,
were down by 2 runs. And if we lost, we were out the tournament.
okay.
Just and then I came up to bat the last inning. The girl before me came up to bat. She walked, and then I hit a double, and then somebody else scored us. But me coming up to bat and seeing my team just cheer, and we
Yeah.
overcame that. It was a long game. We played like 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours, and we went into extra innings and everything. But just to see like the excitement from my team like celebrating me, that was probably my absolute favorite part of the whole season, like that we were down and that we overcame it as a team.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's interesting. You said that, and we had some similar moments. Like I said, I worked with some of the youngers, and we did alliance and some other stuff. But it's the games are fun, the competition is fun, but just being there with your teammates and winning together and celebrating with all the girls that you've been working all summer with, that's the absolute best. So that's really cool.
Absolutely.
So, Alex, I just want to thank you once again. One of my favorite things about this and speaking to all these amazing talents is almost everywhere I go or every time I turn on the TV, I've got someone to cheer for. And so now I've got an LSU Tiger that you now have a new fan for life. And so I appreciate you and I wish you the best.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.